Welcome to my show, and if you don't know what my show is, sorry about your damn luck. And it's going to be about the Elimination Chamber and what you didn't see on the pay-per-view, as well as some brief WWE news. And here we go. Well, Hall of Famer Edge will be appearing at Asheville Mall in Asheville, North Carolina tonight. Well, he was there tonight at 7 p.m. to benefit Mission Children's Hospital to raise money, and he was appearing at the food court. Also, wrestling legend Harley Race appeared at last night's WWE developmental TV tapings in Tampa, Florida. He gave a promo for the fans from outside the ring and said his days of walking up and down stairs are over. So I guess he's not going to be in the ring anymore. Other stars, future stars, were at the show. Besides the former Chris Hero, the following talents have been added to the FCW roster page: Adam Mercer, Aiden English, other known as Matt Raywolt, Garrett Dillard, should be Dylan, formerly known as Jody Christopherson, you know the famous Chris Christopherson, the singer? Well, that's his son. Sonny Elliott, Paige, who's formerly known as Brittany Knight, and Saraya. And also some returning news from Diva Layla. She says her knees are getting stronger than ever, and she's expected to return very, very soon. Elimination Chamber pay-per-view went live tonight. Before it went live, Alex Riley lost to Hunico in the dark match. Hunico won with his version of the Angle Slam. Live from the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and Booker T talk about the road to WrestleMania. Elimination Chamber match for the WWE title is up first. That's Kofi Kingston versus Miz versus Truth versus Chris Jericho versus Dolph Ziggler versus CM Punk. Well, this match was just like last week's. It had similarities to the injury angle to Chris Jericho during the match. He is not actually injured. It's just storyline, so he can take his time off to get ready for his Fozzy tour. So, but the injury angle from the Jesse Sorensen and was it Ian? How you pronounce the name? Anyways, that was real. Well, the chamber is brought down and we're ready to go. Chris Jericho's music hits first, and out he comes. Jericho entered the ring, and for winning the match on Raw last week, he will be the final entrant into the match. So, who is number one? The Miz is next out. He is locked into his pod. Dolph Ziggler comes out, and he's locked in. He's out with Vicky Guerrero at his side. R-Truth is out next, so there you go. You don't have a number one yet. Well, Kofi Kingston is out next, so he's number two, and then CM Punk. So they face off together, starting things off. Well, they lock up, and Kofi starts with a headlock. They go back and forth. Kofi leaps over the top and lands on the steel. Yeah, it's like a stage that's going around the ring because they raise it up and down during the whole pay-per-view. Okay. Alright, back to the match. Kofi comes back to the ring and Punk goes at it with knees. Kofi then rolls Punk up for a two, and they trade several pin attempts now. Kofi comes back and goes for the boom drop, but Punk kicks him in the head, blocking it. Kofi dumps Punk out to the steel this time, and Punk fights back and suplexes Kofi out to the steel again. Kofi lands on his feet and backdrops Punk. Punk lands hard on his hip and the steel. Punk and Kofi go at it on the steel now outside the ring, and the rules have changed this year for some reason. Pinfalls and submission only count inside the ring, unlike the previous years. The original rules are anywhere in the Elimination Chamber. It kind of sucked to me that just made it go an extra wasted time. Well, Dolph, let's speed up a little bit. Okay. Punk and they went out and they were outside on steel. Punk suplexes Kofi and rolls him up back into the ring. Punk springboards in for a 2 count. Punk keeps in control and gets another 2 count. As the clock is counting down, the next man in the match is Dolph Ziggler. Dolph comes in and goes to work on Punk. Dolph rubs his face into the steel chain, then drops him on the steel. Dolph climbs the steel and shows off. Yeah, he's doing his little hanging upside down leg lifts and what have you. Okay, well, that was the boring part of his part. Then he comes off the side of the steel and hits a leg drop on Punk. Dolph backs Punk in the ring and gets a 2 count. Dolph takes the fight to Kofi now. Dolph goes to splash Punk in the corner but moves, and Dolph hits his face on the turnbuckle. More back and forth action. Kofi and Punk go high risk and collide in midair after Dolph ducks from a double clothesline from one side of the ring to the other. The timer goes off and the next man is R-Truth. Well, R-Truth doesn't last maybe a minute and a half. Truth comes in and clotheslines, but Dolph kicks him in the face. Truth gets a huge hip toss on Ziggler and throws him out onto the steel. Truth then leaps over the top now and lands on Ziggler and the steel. Truth hits a scissor kick on Ziggler and covers him for a 2 count. Punk runs into a boot from Truth in the corner but comes right back with an ID. Punk takes Truth to the top for a big superplex, but Truth kicks out at 2. And this is the end. Kofi misses the Trouble in Paradise and Punk throws him out to the steel. Punk slams Truth and goes up top. Punk tosses Jericho in his pod. Punk comes down from the top and hits the big elbow drop to eliminate Punk. Yeah, he gets a 3 count. Ziggler rolls up Punk for a 2. Kofi takes out Punk with the Trouble in Paradise. Kofi and Dolph go at it now. Dolph gets dumped to the steel. Kofi covers Punk for a 2. Kofi leaps on the ropes and to the steel. Onto Ziggler's clutches, and Kofi drops Ziggler on the steel with a big tornado DDT. Ziggler's out cold, and the timer goes off as The Miz is the next man in the match. Miz comes in and takes control as everyone else is down. Miz with a 2 count on Ziggler. He goes back to Kofi and rams him into the ring post. Miz charges but runs into a big boot. Miz comes right back and drops Kofi off the top turnbuckle. Miz covers Kofi and he kicks out at 2. Miz botches a clothesline in a corner on Punk. They go back and forth. TTS is blocked as the skull crushing finale is blocked. Miz gets a 2 count. Miz drops Punk with a DDT, but Punk kicks out at 2. Miz applies a hold on Punk as Jericho looks on from his pod. They go back and forth some more. Punk ends up with an anaconda device on Miz after a 2 count. Miz won't kick out, but in comes Chris Jericho as the final entrant into the match. Punk and Jericho go at it. Jericho drops Punk and kicks him in the back. Jericho with a drop kick and a 2 count. Jericho's not showing any ring rust. Well, Jericho's keeping in control and goes for the walls of Jericho. Punk counters and goes for a DTS. Jericho blocks it and hits a running bulldog. Jericho nails a lion's halt, but Punk kicks out at 2. Ziggler then rolls Jericho up from behind for a close 2. Jericho hits Codebreaker on Ziggler and covers him for the pin. Ziggler is gone from the match. Jericho goes to work on Kofi before going back to Punk. Punk catapults Jericho over the top rope and onto the steel. Punk works Jericho over onto the steel using the pods. Punk with a knee to the face. Jericho with a right hand, and now he uses the pod on Punk. Jericho slams the pod door in Punk's face and down Punk goes. Jericho goes back to work on Kofi now. Miz comes from behind and takes out Jericho. Miz charges Kofi in the corner and unloads on him. Miz with knees to the gut. Miz charges in the corner, but Kofi kicks him in the head. Kofi goes to the top, and Miz stops him. Miz tries to superplex Kofi, but can't. Punk attacks Miz from behind. Punk power bombs Miz and covers him for a 2 count. Punk then climbs on top of a pod now. Kofi hits a crossbody from the top of the pod and takes out Punk and Miz as they both catch him. Unlike when, was it last week, whenever Punk, not Punk, but Miz and R-Truth was doing the counter with the R-Truth flip over. Miz was supposed to catch him and didn't do it. Well, they caught him this time. Okay, lost my spot here. Not the Arn Anderson spot, but my spot. Okay. Alright, Kofi covers Miz for a 2. Jericho comes over and applies the walls of Jericho on Kofi. Kofi Kingston taps out after like a minute being in the hold, and he is eliminated. Jericho takes his time releasing the hold. After it's released, Jericho throws Kofi to the steel and beats him up some more. Jericho grabs Kofi and tosses him out of the chamber. And this sets up the Jericho angle to be removed from the match and gone from WWE possible. Jericho turns around to a kick in the face from Punk. Jericho falls out of the chamber and lands on a cameraman as they both go down. Referees are checking on both guys, the cameraman and Jericho. And 2 referees are basically telling the referees or whoever the people are that's actually doing the match inside the ring, calling the match or whatever. They just said he's gone, he's out of the match, take him out. Okay, but they didn't give the X sign, so therefore does not have a true injury. For those that don't know, when they do a true injury, they'll always give the X sign. It's like John Cena, he gave the X sign on Zack Ryder last week. But everybody knows Zack's not actually really injured. Shh, don't tell nobody. If you didn't know that, sorry. You better call somebody! Okay. And as they're waiting a couple of minutes for the medics to check over Jericho, Jericho isn't responding and Punk just looks on from the chamber. Officials are helping the cameraman up and tending to Jericho. Match finally resumes as the Miz attacks Punk from behind. Miz hits a backbreaker, but Punk kicks him in the head. Miz goes down for a 2 count. Punk and Miz go at it for a few seconds. Punk hits the Bulldog, but Miz kicks out at 2. Punk comes off the top rope, but Miz catches him in the skull-crushing finale. Miz covers, but Punk kicks out at a close 2 count. Miz keeps in control and takes the fight to the corner with Miz with right hands. Miz snaps and mushes Punk in the face and keeps telling him he's nothing. Miz wastes time and charges in the corner, but Punk moves. Miz hits his head in the pod. Punk goes for the DTS and hits it in the middle of the ring for the win. Winner is still champion CM Punk. The bell rings and Punk starts celebrating his win. Punk finally leaves the chamber and we see Chris Jericho still laid out on the floor with officials checking on him. Punk stares at him as he's going by and they fade to black and go to the back. And the Santino Marella first segment, they show him that he earned his elimination spot on SmackDown. The Elimination Chamber spot on SmackDown. And they go backstage and Santino is actually working out Rocky style. You know, the Rocky movie? Doing his little warm-ups. And there you go. Well, we get another WrestleMania 28 hype video for John Cena. Divas title match is up next. Tamina Snuka versus Beth Phoenix. As this little feud's going to probably be a rematch for WrestleMania. And they go to the ring. And out first comes the Divas champion Beth Phoenix. Her challenger Tamina Snuka is out next. The bell rings and Beth tells Tamina to get out of her ring. Tamina strikes first and goes to work on Beth. Well, I'm going to go back a bit. Well, this is where Beth is opening the ropes and she's sitting on it. You got the ass crack thing. Ropes going between the ass crack. Some people want to see that. Yeah, tell me, I want to see that. Okay, back to the match. Tamina strikes first and goes to work on Beth. Tamina with a takedown and kick to the head for 2. Tamina continues the attack on Beth. Tamina goes up top for a splash, but Beth knocked her out to the floor. Beth follows to the floor and works Tamina over. Tamina makes it back in at the 8 count. Beth meets her with a bunch of elbows and a 2 count. Beth with a headlock. Now Beth goes to another submission and tells the referee to check on Tamina. Tamina fights back to her feet and hits a big Samoan drop. Tamina goes to the top for the Superfly splash, but Beth cut her off. Beth climbs up for a suplex of her own and nails it. Beth gets up and they both go at it. They trade shots, but Tamina gets the upper hand. Tamina with the big chops and a splash in the corner now. Tamina drops Beth with a super kick and climbs up top for the Superfly splash. Try and say that a few times. Tamina nails it with Beth barely kicking out. Tamina goes back to the top for another splash, but Beth rolls out of the ring. Tamina follows up and brings Beth back in the ring. Beth throws Tamina into the corner and grabs her for the glam slam. And it's over. Beth hits the pin, hits the glam slam and the win. Then we get the showing of the anti-bullying videos. And then we get another backstage segment with Santino Marella, number 2, training for tonight. And this time I believe he's doing the ham. You know how Rocky was doing his punching things? He had a long tube of ham swinging, and then he was doing his little punching things. Well, he ducks it to the side, he comes back, and it goes to the forward, and as it comes back, it catches him on the side of the head. Are you kidding me? Don't mess with me. Then he takes his little the Cobra out, does a little thing, and that ended that segment. Josh Matthews was backstage trying to get a word with Chris Jericho, but doctors are still looking at him. How can you get from that report, how can you actually get a word when you're not even like 20 feet away from him? As he was at the doorway to a locker room where they were maintaining him, and just the guys were actually talking to Jericho, trying to revive him or whatever. But what they didn't, if he actually showed him, Jericho was actually not in character when he was just at the end of that little segment, because he actually went like turned to the side and like smiled. He was about to say, "Is it over yet?" So, there you go. That was a botch in that one. And next, we're going to the ring with Justin Roberts introducing Johnny Laurinaitis. That's John Laurinaitis. Laryngitis. Out comes Laurinaitis with David O at his side. You know, the lawyer. Laryngitis introduces himself and talks about how the board of directors wants him to stay around. For those that don't know, my name is John Laurinaitis. I'm the Raw interim general manager and talent relations. Well, that's my best imitation. Okay, he talks about himself and talks about how the board of directors wanted him to stay around. Laryngitis says Teddy Long should be subjected to show some scrutiny, to the same scrutiny he was. Laurinaitis says that there has been complaints about Long, but as it's only from 4 heel wrestlers from the SmackDown crew, as well as 3, and then 1 from Raw, who was probably going to be sent to SmackDown. Thus, you will find out in this continuing segment. He goes on, and the first one is interrupted by Alberto Del Rio and his music, and he's coming out driving a 1985 Excalibur. Del Rio is not with his announcer, his personal ring announcer, Ricardo Rodriguez. And he comes down to the ring. Del Rio hits the ring and runs Teddy Long down as well. Del Rio says Long is corrupt and is a piece of trash. Good for nothing, scum of the earth, you name it. Del Rio says we don't need people like that in this business. Del Rio thinks Laurinaitis should be a permanent GM of Raw and SmackDown. Well, he gets interrupted by Mark Henry's music, and out he comes. Henry calls Teddy Long a bully and describes how Teddy assaulted him 2 weeks ago, and that he should have a lawsuit. Henry says that he has been wrongfully suspended. Well, if you're suspended, how are you even on the show? Makes no sense to me. Henry then says Laurinaitis has never been a bully and never thrown his weight around, nor has Henry ever seen him abuse his power. Power? What power? Henry agrees with Del Rio. Laurinaitis should be the permanent GM of Raw and SmackDown. Laurinaitis says he didn't expect the support and goes to talk, but he is interrupted by Christian's music, and out comes Christian to the ring, making his return. And this was what they were talking about as the hype for Christian's return, as he's not wearing his neck brace and yada yada yada. But he's actually got he's growing his hair back. I noticed, and he's wearing a cap. As you see, my long hair. Well, he's actually got some long hair. It looks like it was folded up in the back, and kind of like Alex Shelley's hair when it's in the front, like two shades of blonde, like one darker than the other. Could be his gray streak showing now. Okay, well, Christian is talking about Long and says he would be competing for the world title tonight if it wasn't for Long. Christian says Orton is at home faking a concussion. Now, how can he be at home when he was right there backstage at the beginning of the show with Teddy Long? Can you get me with that? So another botched storyline that we're running there. Okay. He said, but his injuries were legitimate. Whereas Christian's injuries were legitimate. Christian says Long forced him to compete injured. Christian says that's negligence. And working in an unsafe working environment, Christian asked the board to do the right thing and named Laurinaitis as the SmackDown GM. Laurinaitis thanks everyone and shakes their hands. Laurinaitis wants everyone to pose for a picture, but Mark Henry is resisting at first, but Otunga snaps the pic, and that's it. As Henry was about to walk out of the ring, Laurinaitis asks Henry to come back in for one picture, and they leave. And they get another WrestleMania 28 promo, setting up reminding everybody about the John Cena Rock confrontation. Another backstage segment with Santino training for the Chamber match. I forgot what this one was. Oh, I think this was him running up the steps. Not much of this. He just did his little circle thing, and that was basically it. Josh Matches is backstage with Big Show. Josh says something about Show. It says Show admits he has I agree with that. He admits he has a bad history at WrestleMania. Show says he's winning the world title tonight and working on his future. Well, Elimination Chamber for the world title up is next. I was expecting Great Khali to be replaced by any one of the three that was in the previous segment. That was Mark Henry, Christian, and Del Rio. But they still had Great Khali, and that made it a terrible match. Great Khali versus Cody Rhodes versus Wade Barrett versus Santino Marella versus Big Show versus Daniel Bryan. This was actually a surprising match, as Santino made it to the finals of the match. Congratulations. But he didn't win. Darn it. So we still get stuck with the laughing champion. Okay. We go to the ring, and out first comes Great Khali, because everybody knows that he wasn't going to be going at it first, because he would be the first one eliminated. Intercontinental Champion Cody Rhodes was out next, and he's also put into a pod. Santino was third, and he's out next. And he's out, I believe he got, other than Randy Orton himself, he got the loudest pop of the night. Out next was Daniel Bryan. He got the the heat of the night. And he's put into the last empty pod. Wade Barrett was out next as the final two, and it ends up to be Wade Barrett versus Big Show to start things off. And they start off, Show beats Barrett around and hits him with a big chop while taunting Brian. Barrett makes a comeback, but Show runs him over with a big shoulder. Barrett manages to take out Show's knee and kicks him in the head several times. Barrett with a kick to the gut and gets a 1 count. Barrett goes back to kicking Show around. Show goes to the steel, and Barrett follows. Taking it outside the ring, Barrett slams Show's head into the chain twice. Show goes down, but on the steel, Barrett stomps him back into the ring. Show kicks Barrett off and gets back to his feet. Barrett kicks the knees out again, and Show goes right back to the mat. Barrett continues working on Show's knee here. Show kicks Barrett up to the steel again and suplexes him back into the ring. Yeah, whatever. How are you going to suplex if 450 pounds ish into the ring? Show with a big headbutt now. Show's got a big head, so that's a big headbutt. Show with a big chop in the corner. Show tosses Barrett back to the steel, stands on him. Wow, what? $180? Maybe 200 pounds? Wade Barrett. Show continues the offense as the timer counts down, and out comes Cody Rhodes. Cody is in, but Show takes him down. Show keeps eyeing Daniel Bryan. Cody fights Show with kicks and punches, but can't whip him off the ropes. Show tosses Cody out to the steel. Barrett comes over, and Show tosses him out into the chains. Cody goes to the top, but Show stops him and throws him into the chains. Show grabs Barrett for a choke slam, but he slides out. Barrett takes Show out. Takes out Show's knees and goes back to work on him. Show breaks out of a hole. Barrett ducks a clothesline and tags down Show with the help of Cody. Cody shouts away on Show now, and they cover him for a 2. Barrett clotheslines Cody to the steel and follows him. Barrett tosses Cody into the steel 3 times. Barrett throws Rhodes into Santino's pod before whipping him into the ring post. Cody turns around and rams Barrett into the chains as it's back to every man for himself. Cody unloads on Barrett and beats him down, and as the timer goes off, next man in is Santino Marella. Santino comes in with right hands on Barrett. Santino ducks the clothesline and hip tosses Barrett. Classic Santino. Santino with the falling headbutt. Santino then turns around and Big Show is there. He doesn't want nothing of Big Show. Santino tries to power up, but Show blocks the right hand. Show takes Santino in the corner and unloads on him. Cody comes in and takes out Show's legs from behind to save everybody. Cody stomps away on Show and covers for a 2. Cody gets chopped to the mat. Barrett comes in, but Show drops him also. Show tosses Cody out to the steel and then count. For a 2 count. Cody gets chopped to the mat. Barrett comes in, but Show drops him also. Show tosses Cody out to the steel and then does the same with Barrett. Show points at Daniel Bryan and wants him in the match, but Show goes to the steel and calls for a choke slam. He grabs Cody and then Barrett at the same time, but they both fought him off. Double team suplex out to the steel. Wade Barrett and Cody try to get Show back in the ring for a pin attempt, but he's out cold. Bryan screams at them to pin Show. Cody and Barrett start fighting now. Cody goes for a moonsault and nails it for a 2 count on Barrett. Cody tosses Barrett into the steel and goes to work on Santino. Cody brings Santino to the steel and whips him into the chains. Cody works on Santino's arm so he can't do the Cobra now. Timer goes off and the next man in is Great Khali. Here's his elimination coming up. Khali comes in and lays out Barrett. Then Cody gets a big boot on Barrett and a big Punjabi plunge on Cody. He grabs Barrett again for a plunge. Khali drops Santino with a big overhead chop now. Show manages to spear Khali and covers him for the pin. Khali is eliminated. Alright, Show's back up to Brian's pod to taunt him. Show tries reaching down through the top of the pod. Yeah, because it's wide open on his chains, and he busts through at least two or three of the chains and actually grabs them, but can't reach them down for far enough inside the pod because he squats down. Show starts breaking the chains and on the top of Brian's pod so he can break into it. Show breaks it into Brian's pod and Brian fights him. Well, in this 3 or 4 foot pod, it gets mighty tight in there. And they brawl inside the pod. And Show beats on him now. Show continues the assault inside the pod with headbutts and a boot to the throat. And as the timer goes off, and Daniel Bryan is now legal and he's already involved. And he falls through and opens as the pod opens. Bryan escapes the pod and Show throws him through another pod. Bryan goes crashing through everything and lands real hard. Show tosses Bryan into the ring and drops Barrett with a headbutt. Show continues to attack on Bryan and splashes him in the corner. Show runs over Bryan again and calls for the choke slam, but Show choke slams Bryan hard, but Barrett drops Show with a big boot. Barrett hits Big Show with knees to the head. Barrett with another running boot to Show's face. Santino comes in and rolls Barrett up for 2. Barrett clobbers Santino with a clothesline and dumps him into the steel. Cody comes up and delivers a beautiful disaster on Show. Cody climbs the chains and hits another disaster kick on Show. Show stumbles into the ring and Cody drops him with a DDT. Barrett hits an elbow from the top on Show. Cody covers for the pin. Show is eliminated. Cody is celebrating after eliminating Show. Santino comes up from behind and rolls Cody up, and Cody is eliminated. Santino and Cody will have words on his way out. Cody drops Santino after being eliminated. Barrett takes advantage and tries to cover Santino, but he kicks out at 2. Barrett tosses Santino out to the steel, throws him into the chains. The crowd chants for Santino as Barrett continues to attack. Barrett locks Santino's arms in the chains, just like they did the ropes, wrapping them through and what have you. It's not very hard to get out of them chains anyway, so you just pull yourself back out. Well, they work him over with knees to the head and the right hands. Continues the attack. Barrett, okay. Barrett with a big boot. Barrett goes to Bryan in the ring and they go at it. Bryan botches a move in the corner. They trade holds and pin attempts. Bryan goes for the LeBell lock, but Barrett fights it off. Bryan kicks Barrett off and hits him with a series of kicks in the corner. Bryan climbs up top with Barrett. Barrett pushes him off and the top rope lands between his legs. Crotch job. Barrett runs and clotheslines Bryan off the rope. Barrett goes to the steel with Bryan. Barrett powerballs Bryan into the chains and he hits the back of his head on the steel. Barrett slams Bryan into the pod now. Barrett closes a pod door on Bryan's neck and head and slams it. Bryan goes down as we get a replay. Bryan still manages to kick out at 2. Santino comes over, but Barrett drops him with a right hand. Barrett goes for a waistland on Santino, but Santino avoids it. Santino ends up laying over the top rope. Barrett turns around to a flying knee from Bryan. Bryan unloads on Barrett now and throws him into the pods. Bryan goes up top, but Barrett knocks him off. Barrett knocks Bryan back into the already busted pod. Barrett goes to the second rope for a huge waistland on Bryan, but Santino breaks it up. Santino takes Barrett to the top for a superplex, but Barrett fights him off and falls to the mat. Barrett climbs up for the big elbow drop, but Santino moves out of the way. Bryan goes to the top and hits a big headbutt on Barrett. Santino covers Barrett and he eliminates Wade Barrett with a pinfall. Match is now down to Bryan versus Santino. Bryan sees Santino and starts laughing. Santino hulks up and goes to work on Bryan. Bryan drop kicks him in the corner. Bryan takes Santino back down and kicks him in the back, and you get a very heavy Santino chant from the crowd. Santino sits up and Bryan kicks him in the chest. Santino gets up again, and Santino kicks him in the chest again. Bryan kicks him in the chest again. Santino up again. Kicked in the chest again. Santino keeps getting up, but Bryan knocks him down with a kick to the head. Bryan covers, but Santino kicks at it too. Bryan charges in the corner, but Santino moves. Santino with a roll up for a 2. Bryan suplexes Santino and goes for the top. Santino moves and Bryan misses the headbutt. Santino pulls out the Cobra. He hits Bryan with it and covers him for a 2 count. Thought he had the 3. Well, Bryan countered and gets a label lock and applies it on Santino. Well, Santino starts to power out, but it's falsely as he ends up tapping out afterwards. Because Bryan tightens the hold and Santino finally taps out to end the match. Winner and still champion, Daniel Bryan. After the match, Santino comes out to, Sheamus comes out to interrupt Bryan's celebration. They meet in the middle of the ring, and Sheamus catches a kick. Sheamus grabs Bryan and lays him out with the Celtic Cross. Thus is your announcement for your WrestleMania. Since he won the Rumble, he gets to choose whatever champion, and he's choosing the smart way to go, Daniel Bryan. Up next is your United States Heavyweight United States title match, impromptu, that was not scheduled. As it was made, Justin Gabriel versus Jack Swagger, as Teddy Long made the announcement in the previous segment. There it is. I skipped over it. Backstage segment with Hornswoggle wearing a cheesehead hat. What? Are they in Pittsburgh? No, it's not the Steel City. They thought they were. Well, he's talking about how he likes cheese and says, "Cut the cheese." When they show Natalya actually standing beside him, she swears that wasn't her. Natalya grabs her stomach and lets out that as they do the sound conversion of the fart. She runs off, farting as Hornswoggle looks on. It's like he's not even playing into it. Justin Gabriel's walking up for some cheese when Jack Swagger and Vicky Guerrero are walking in from the other side. Hornswoggle's jokes on Vicky and Swagger, and slaps Swagger then slaps his cheese head off. Gabriel and Swagger then get into it, standing face to face, and Teddy Long walks in. Teddy makes it a match, Gabriel versus Swagger for the title tonight. As Gabriel walks off, Swagger says Long abuses his power. Swagger says John Laurinaitis should be running both shows. Long says he likes the idea of one man running both shows, but that one man should be him. Holla holla. As he walks off. Next up with your U.S. title match. They go to the ring. Out first comes United States Champion Jack Swagger with Vicky. Out next with Justin Gabriel. They lock up as Hornswoggle was also in his corner. I didn't actually see much of this match. I had to go to the bathroom and what have you. Tend to my daughter. Get her something to drink. But that's kids for you. Swagger worked him in the corner. Gabriel ducks the clothesline and kicks Swagger in the gut. Swagger catches Gabriel and power bombs him. Swagger hits the Swagger bomb from the second rope and a series of elbows to the gut. Swagger does some push-ups over Gabriel and goes to a submission. Gabriel turns things around and gets a 2. Gabriel ducks the clothesline and connects with a forearm. Gabriel springboards in from the apron for a 2 count on Swagger. Gabriel continues the offense on Swagger and rolls to the floor where we see Hornswoggle. Gabriel dives through the ropes and takes out Swagger on the floor. Gabriel with more offense on the corner. Swagger catches his leg and throws it into the ring post. Swagger brings it in, and this is where I came in, and then he applies the ankle lock. Or the toe hold, or ankle hold, or whatever it is they call it. For the tap out. Then they get a long vignette for tonight's main event. John Cena versus Kane ambulance match. We see the ambulance back on the stage as the rules are announced. On the way to the witness match is to load your opponent into the back of the ambulance. My buddy was right. It is to the back of the ambulance. I was thinking, because he was about, during this match, he was about to put Kane in the front of the ambulance, but Cena was on top of the ambulance, as you will hear during the rest of the results. Well, Kane's music hits first, and he's out first. Out next with John Cena, and we get ready to go. Bell rings, and they go at it. Kane takes things around the ring and works Cena over. Cena fights back, and they fight towards the ambulance already. Cena has the ambulance backed up, but Kane turns things around. Kane beats Cena around and opens the door to the ambulance. Kane pulls a stretcher out of it and runs it into Cena. Kane tries to throw Cena in the ambulance, but Cena stops it. Cena turns things around again and fights back towards the ring. They finally make it to the back to the ring, and Kane drops Cena with a big right hand. Kane whips Cena into the ropes and drops him with a big boot. Kane mounts Cena with the right hands now. More offense from Kane in the ring now. This match is a better match from the last several events in the live event shows where they just do the choke slam and what have you, dark matches. And it's like choke slam, okay, he leaves and comes back in, attitude adjustment, and sends home the fans home happy. Well, Cena puts Kane in a wheelchair and I missed where I was. Okay. Kane pulled a stretcher out of it and he runs into Cena. Kane tries to throw Cena in the ambulance, but Cena stops it. Cena turns things around again and fights back towards the ring. They finally made it back into the ring, and Kane drops Cena with a big right hand. Kane whips Cena into the ropes, drops him with a big boot. Kane mounted Cena with the right hands. More offense from Kane in the ring now. Cena puts Kane in the wheelchair and wheels it to the production area. Kane crashes into barely anything and falls out of the chair. Cena comes over, but Kane hits him into the head with a piece of production equipment. Kane comes back and fights Cena comes back and fights Kane through the production area and near the crowd. Kane brings the fight back to the ringside, but Cena whips him into the fan barrier and over it back to the ring. Cena grabs a mic, says something, and hits Kane with it. You remember what he was saying? I forgot what he was saying. Something about revenge, what have you. Yeah. Remember what revenge is. Okay, well. Okay. Lost my spot again. Okay, Cena grabbed the mic, says something, and hits Kane with it. And you hear the doink that the clown, the microphone sounds like when you hit somebody with it. Tweet! Cena then asks Booker T if they earned him a spot on the Fave 5. Cena takes part of the Spanish announcer's table and hits Kane with a monitor. Cena takes apart the steel steps and decks Kane with it, with the top piece of it. He grabs the bottom piece and positions it the piece on the floor in front of the announcer's table. Somebody's going through the table! Cena hits Kane with the steps again and puts him back down. Cena stacks the steps back together in front of the Spanish announcer's table. Cena grabs Kane for the attitude adjustment and carries him up the steps. But Kane countered and slides out and chokeslams Cena through the Spanish announcer's table. So what a sell on this one. Kane goes back to the ambulance to get another stretcher. Well, in the meantime, he's bringing it back to the steps and back up to the table as Cena is up on it. He's grabbing Cena and putting him up on the stretcher. Kane pulls the stretcher and Cena back to the ambulance. Kane throws Cena into the back, but Cena fights out and he tries to shut the doors. Cena unloads on Kane and slams the side door of the ambulance in Kane's face. Cena opens the door of the driver's side of the ambulance door and slams it into Kane. Cena then climbs up to the very top of the ambulance. Cena climbs up top and meets him. They fight on the top of the ambulance. Cena blocks a choke slam. Cena grabs Kane and hits the attitude adjustment from the top of the ambulance, not on the ambulance, but down to the floor where he wasn't even seen. You couldn't see him because they didn't go for the camera view from it. And Cena tries to load Kane into the back of the ambulance. Now, as he does, Cena shuts the doors and he's declared the winner as the bell rings to end the match and the pay-per-view. But Cena heads to the ring to celebrate as we see the ambulance drive off with Kane in the back, supposedly. Because I didn't see anybody walk around to the front. So that got me thinking, well, Kane did it again. Faked everybody out and drove himself off. But the person that was driving an ambulance was wearing the EMT uniform. Okay, Cena's back in the middle of the ring. Cena hits the ring, every ring post, and then points to the WrestleMania 28 sign as the Elimination Chamber goes off the air. And thus, that's my pay-per-view results. Stay tuned for tomorrow night's Raw. And don't forget, everybody, remind yourselves, set your DVRs and VCRs and whatever you have, camcorders and whatever. Set your brains ahead to record SmackDown live on Tuesday night this week. As Sting is quoted to say, ta-ta for now.